Hey everybody, good morning. Hi Lee. How is everyone doing this morning? I have moved back to the kitchen for now as my son told me very grumpily that he was not getting up. So I was like, fine, I won't bug you. So first thing, housekeeping elements. Storefront Challenge is Monday, April 1st through 5th, and I am super excited to share it with you. So if you are two kinds of people, the first kind of person is someone who is selling currently wholesale or arbitrage, and you want to talk to a brand to try to get a brand to work with you exclusively as their seller, then you want to take the storefront challenge, because then you can go to them and you can say, hey, look at all the cool things I can do for you. The second kind of person who should take this challenge is someone who either has already applied for a trademark or will be getting a trademark soon, or already has taken care of all that and wants to improve their storefront. So anyone who has a brand. So those are the two kind of folks who want to take this course. Good morning, Tandy. Because we're going to talk about the various ways you can use a storefront from a kind of PR perspective. How do you actually treat your business from a PR perspective in terms of what page do you want Amazon to show about you? And how do you get it to be a high converting destination for your ads? We have a couple of ads on a client's account where all of the sponsored products ads were between 18 to 20% or so. And we took the same exact keywords and sent it to his storefront landing page. And he got immediately dropped to 11 to 14% any given week. Just the same list of keywords, the same target product, a different landing page. So you can have much more effective ads and you can target different kinds of people. So we just did a storefront overhaul for a client where we took their basic main page, which was converting. It was making money. It was making money actually at about 18% conversion rate, which is pretty good. But what we were thinking was that they weren't getting a particular subsection of customers, people who are eco-friendly, but didn't realize that this product was more eco-friendly than another product. So what we're doing is we're actually advertising to the people who really like that particular eco-friendly product, and then taking them to our page where we say, actually, our product is even better, and here's why. And then you put the call to action, which is add to cart, at the bottom of the landing page. So there's some really cool stuff that we can do with storefronts, and I'm really excited to go over it in detail with you guys, walk through the whole process. And that is, again, April 1st through the 5th. And you can sign up. The links are on our homepage, and I'm pretty sure they're sent out every week in the weekly newsletter from Christina as well. Okay, all right. So for the questions that I have, if you have questions, as usual, please pop them in. First question that I have is a field on the brand analytics page. The question is, I've got to zoom this in. Do you know why the lower the number means it's searched more often? If I click the question in light gray, it says ranking based on search history, which would lead you to think the most searched would have the highest number. Because of this, I don't really understand what the number represents or what it means. Okay, so search ranking is different than search frequency. If you're getting information from merchant words, or getting information from Scope or Helium 10 or whatever, they tell you the frequency of search that happens with a particular keyword. What Amazon is telling you here is actually the rank of the search. So that your product here, whatever that happens to be, in this case, it's a kitchen product, that this one has a search rank of 79,000. So that means that it starts at 1 and it goes up to 79,000. And then the ones at 222 and 484 are beyond that. Basically, anything ranked below 100K, you're getting some sales on typically. So in kitchen and home, a pretty solid rank is 20 to 40, and then obviously the big brands are in the top 20K. So the search frequency rank is starting at 1 and going up from there. So kind of like golf, the lower the better. Okay, next question. Do you continue to run sponsored PPC ads if your product is ranking on page 1? What if it has the Amazon's Choice badge and or ranks number 1 at the top of the page? Okay, so I have this problem with folks all the time. Amazon's Choice just means Amazon's Choice for a particular keyword. That's it. So just because you're number 1, can everyone still see me? It just did this weird blinky thing. Just making sure you can still see me. So I want to make sure everyone is not going to be cut off from this. It just had some funky stuff for a second. So just let me know. Okay. All right. Thank you, Tandy. Sometimes you never know with Webinar Jam, and if it does anything weird, I've always got to check. Okay. So the most important thing to remember is Amazon's choice is a search rank result. It's not something like bestseller badge, which tells you that you're the best in that particular category. Amazon's choice just means you're best for that particular keyword. So of course you're going to still run PPC. You have a lot of other keywords, I'm assuming, that you also want to rank for. So just because you're number one on one keyword and you've got Amazon's choice on one keyword doesn't mean that you don't want to try to corner the market on others. And you can be Amazon's choice for multiple keywords. So we have a client who is Amazon's choice for about 5 different keywords, and they're number one on them. And these are keywords. We didn't target the top 10 keywords at all. It's just too expensive. So we're targeting below that. And so they're top on the ones below that in the 11 to 20 range. And so that gets them quite a bit of traffic, actually, because even though they're not the top search, they're number one on kind of secondary searches. So that can be a really solid strategy if you're a small business. Go after the lower cost PPC, not the long tail necessarily, although you should go after long tail, but that's not the point here. What you want to do is you want to just ditch the exact top ones. Make sure that all those keywords are in your title and in your bullets, of course, but don't go after them. Go after the ones that are just a little bit below that, the ones that aren't quite so expensive. Okay. Question from Tony. I have the category listing report. How can I download a flat file to use the report to get field information like intended use, subject matter? I'm trying to optimize the listing on the back end. So you're saying you have the category listing report. So when you download the category listing report, it's downloaded in the format of a flat file. They actually download it with the headers and everything. So if you wanted to then re-upload it in that format, that's completely fine. I'm totally not following, Tony. If you could explain more what you're looking for, that would be awesome. Kathy asked, California Nexus for sales tax, 10K in sales and 10 million in sales. Very confusing. Yeah, so I suggest joining, I believe it's called the Online Merchants Guild with Paul Raffleson. And he's been doing some really great work in the tax issue. So there's no such thing as Nexus anymore. Technically speaking, that was part of the Supreme Court ruling. So it's just whatever the limits are for that particular state. And of course, because everyone paid for South Dakota to go after it, the 200 orders was what was actually ruled on by the Supreme Court. So for me, at least, I was like, that is a total pile of crap. California, of course, you can have 200 orders in California. That's just nuts. So pretty annoying. But the Online Merchants Guild has the most up-to-date information there. And so I suggest that everyone sign up for their newsletter or go check out their website because their FAQs absolutely can't be beat. And this is an area where I am definitely not expert anymore. I used to feel really confident about the concept of Nexus, but now there's no such thing. So definitely check out Paul Raffleson's group. It's the Online Merchants Guild. Yeah, it's you just Google it, and then Paul Raffleson is the guy who runs it. And it's, such a small world sometimes. I actually used to work with his wife at Amazon. Okay, next question. I have a standard liquid product in a spray bottle. I want to sell the refill of that bottle, and I'm fairly sure I'm supposed to list it as a variation of the main product, but what value should I use to hook it onto the parent? You don't have to do a refill as a variation. A variation is supposed to be something that is substantially the same as the item that you're selling. So a color difference, a size difference, a quantity difference, a scent difference, but substantially the same. I actually think that a refill of the bottle might not actually be substantially the same, given that it isn't a bottle, like it's not like a blue bottle or a black bottle or a clear bottle or whatever. It's a refill, which is actually a different product. Now, you could sort of get away with that, I suppose, but part of the reason you may be having a hard time with figuring out what the variation should be is that it probably shouldn't be variated. A refill isn't technically the same thing as the original bottle. Okay. All right, how do I merge ASINs? Amazon is ridiculous and doesn't let me add a variation to an existing listing. Okay, so you just had two questions there. Merge ASINs versus adding a variation to an existing listing. Those are two actually different things. So that might be part of the root of your problem, is not knowing that merge and variations are different. Merge is basically like a website redirect. So there's no such thing as an actual merge. Amazon can never actually merge ASINs. That ASIN will live on forever in the catalog. What they do instead is they do an ASIN redirect where it takes the ASIN and it redirects it to the new ASIN. And so if you try to type in or use that ASIN in any way, it redirects it to the new one. Now, a variation is when you have a parent and then different child ASINs underneath a parent. If you have an existing listing that needs to be variated, then you have to do a variation flat file upload. You can't change something once it's already been created via the one-by-one interface. It's not possible. Like literally, you can't change it at all. So you have to do it via upload. And then half the time the upload doesn't work. So you need to upload it and then you need to have seller support call you. And sometimes they have to push it through. Okay, so you definitely want to make sure that you know exactly what you're trying to do first, whether you're trying to merge, whether you're trying to variate. And then once you do have the variation, make sure you're filling out the flat file correctly, because the variation flat file is kind of an annoying one to do. So that needs to be done correctly before then contacting Amazon to push it through if it doesn't go through for you. Okay. All right, Tony just explain more. When I opened the category listing report in Google, I could not get much information. You probably just don't have it on your listings. So the category listing report just downloads everything that's currently in your catalog of ASINs. So if it's not there, it's probably just not there. It probably was never inputted because it's not required, of course. So what I would suspect is that it's just not present, and so it'll be easy to upload because you don't have anything there yet. So you would need to add those and then upload it via flat file. So for that report, it's just downloading an exact copy of your existing catalog. So that tells you where the gaps are and where the issues are. We use it for ASIN optimization. It's fantastic to get everything downloaded at once, and then you can optimize your bullets and titles and backend keywords and so on with just one report. So super simple. If there's something missing or it's empty, so if you're saying I could not get much information there, if it's just not there, then it means it's not there at all. So you would need to actually create that. So for your intended use and subject matter, it's just another search field that Amazon can use. So make sure that you're using something that's appropriate for that particular one. So for subject matter, what exactly is the focus on that? Subject matter isn't so useful with most products. It was kind of one of those ones that came in from Amazon starting out as a media company. And then intended use is actually really useful sometimes, but go and check the left-hand side when you go search as a customer. Go into browse and check the left-hand side. How can you narrow down your search? And those are the ones that you want to get in first, because people will just not even see the ones that don't have that information present. So those are, they required color map a while ago for that exact reason. And then just be really broad with how you put stuff in there. But yeah, if it's not in your category listing report, then it's just not present. So that's easy, but not helpful. Okay. Assuming I have a list of the top search exact match keywords for my product, but several of the keywords share the same phrase, toddler safety harness, within the terms durable toddler safety harness, large toddler safety harness, etc. Would I write all of these out fully, or just write toddler safety harness once and just plug all the relevant long tail around it? Soft, large, durable toddler safety harness. Yes. So there's two issues here. First, you have to have the words on your listing somewhere, at least one of the words on your listing somewhere for the PPC to run. So this is something that seller support mentioned and kind of really reiterated to us probably last year. But if you don't have that on your detail page at all, often the ads won't even go. So you need to make sure that it's in your detail page, period. That has to be there. But then the second thing is, how do you rank for it? So just because it's on your detail page, just because it's in your title, doesn't mean that you'll rank for it, right? So we've done things before where we'll launch a new product and put it up. No one's bought it yet. No one's clicked on it yet. And it's not even searchable. Doesn't even show. So Amazon indexes based on the behavior of the product. So what you actually need to do is you need to advertise for each of those, make sure it's also in your listing, and then try to get people to click on it. at the point at which they click on it, then you can start showing in search for those keyword search terms. So just because it's on your listing doesn't mean that anyone's actually going to find you, right? That's the critical part here, is that just because you've put it in there and you've thought about it doesn't mean it's actually going to show. Okay, so it does need to be there, but then you need to actually run ads on each variation. So typically we'll recommend a phrase and exact. So you would want to do like toddler safety harness 4 is perfect for a phrase match because it's for whatever. And then the other one would be, durable toddler safety harness 4 would be the phrase, and then durable toddler safety harness would be the exact. Okay. Oh, sorry, Mike. His name is Rafelson, Rafelson. Sorry about that. The more obvious spelling. You did the more like thoughtful spelling. I think probably just like many people did in the U.S., someone who processed his ancestor changed the spelling when coming in. Okay, do you have any tips on how to make a profit during the launch of a product? I'm dealing with PPC costs of $3.50 plus per click and barely making anything in sales. No. Sadly, no. Typically the first month, because you don't rank for anything, just like I said before with the PPC, you're not getting almost any organic sales. So nearly everything that you're getting, you have to pay for. And because no one's done it before, the only place you're showing up is in the actual PPC section. So there's two ways that you can kind of lower your cost there. The first is don't target the top keywords, target the secondary ones. Those ones are going to be lower cost. The second is product target. So make sure that you have a really great image, make sure that you've got a really good first 8 words. And then those are the ones that show up in the sponsored ad carousel on your competitor. And those ones can be really cheap. We're seeing anywhere between 10 cents to 40 cents, really solid. I guess my son decided to wake up. So when you're trying to figure out how to lower a cost during a launch, you want to lower the things that you're going for. So don't go for those top items. Like in supplements, you wouldn't go for like the top, 1 word or 2 word keyword. You'd go for like the 3 or 4 word keywords. And then you would also go with product targeting. And that can definitely lower your PPC costs. But I don't think we've ever made a profit in the first month with a new product launch, ever. It's just not a thing, because every single sale that you're getting is coming through ads at first. To rank anything, you have to get a click and a buy first, which means either you need an influencer to do it, to where people come to the website and look for your stuff, like they look for your stuff. They've got a link and they're buying. And so then you can tell Amazon that you're something worth showing. They don't want to show you if you can't sell things, right? Because they want their 15% or whatever it is for your category. If you can't convince them that you're going to result in a sale, you're not going to get shown. That's why even if it's there on your listing, it's not going to show. So you need to convince them that you can sell, and that's where the PPC comes in. You put it in there, you pay your dues, you put in the month or so. In fact, the first month of most new product launches, I actually tell clients to expect about 150% ACoS, especially because usually when it's new, you don't have reviews either, or you've only got 1 or 2. So that's something that, it's just kind of a painful thing that you just have to endure for the first month if you're going to launch with PPC. Or you can launch with influencers and pay them. I don't recommend giveaway software. First of all, it hardly works anymore. There's a lot of evidence that shows that Amazon's figuring out ways to not have stuff like that get prioritized in search ranking. I hope they fix that, because it was annoying that was just like put money into it and then you win. Like, I really don't like that. At least with PPC, you're actually getting data from customers at the same time. So you're getting some sort of measurable benefit out of the PPC. But yeah, in general, the PPC costs are pretty expensive the first month. And then we generally try to go down to 100% the second month, which is for every $1 in ads, $1 in revenue, and then try to drive it down from there. Because as you get new sales and new keywords, then you're ranking for different things organically, and your ratio of sales, organic sales to advertised sales keeps changing, right? You want the organic sales to keep growing. You want your advertising sales to keep going down. Even if it's at a slow rate, just keep pushing that down. Okay, Kathy had a follow-up question. Back to Nexus. What do you mean it does not exist anymore? So the way that the Supreme Court decision was made was that they basically struck down the old decision that was made, I think in was it North Dakota? So what is up with the Dakotas? I don't know. But that was what actually established the concept of Nexus. They were selling basically like floppy disks of software. You can tell how old it was. They were selling floppy disks of software. And the concept at the time was because they were selling stuff in the state wanted sales tax on it. And they were saying that it was an undue burden on the company because there was no way for them to know and be able to file taxes in all 50 states just from being able to ship from one place, and that something shipping through the mail did not constitute nexus, that the mail was its own entity. So that was what had basically run the concept of sales tax until last year. And last June or so, there was a change in that because of the Supreme Court decision. South Dakota went to the Supreme Court about sales tax and changed the requirement to be, I think it was 200 sales or $10,000 sold. And that was the requirement for South Dakota. Now, in South Dakota, that's completely reasonable. There's like 100 people who live there. So if you have 200 orders, then you're selling a lot in South Dakota and you're a big company and you deserve to pay sales tax. But the problem was it only was basically judged by South Dakota. There was no one else in that particular lawsuit. So something like California or Texas is just not fair. That means that even a very small company would be caught up in this. And so the way that they decided this, way that the court decided this was really open-ended. They basically wanted people to continue to litigate or to try to force Congress to take action. And everyone knows how well it'll go for trying to get Congress to take action. So that's been the kind of really frustrating bit, is that they basically destroyed the whole concept of nexus. So you have to have 200 sales or $10,000 in the state to be basically at risk of having to pay sales tax there. As soon as you pay sales tax there, then their other tax bureaus will ask you for taxes. And how are you supposed to possibly do that with 50 states, plus all of the filing requirements for municipalities or for counties? It's insane. There is no way that a small business can actually do this. So with a lot of our clients, we've basically just been like, here's the most risky areas, pay taxes there. Otherwise, cross your fingers, because there's no way they can stay in business otherwise. It's just not fair. So yeah, that's been the biggest problem for me, was the dissenting opinions in the Supreme Court were basically saying this is an undue burden. And everyone is like, yes, undue burden, definitely an undue burden. And they did it anyway. So pretty frustrating. But yes, it was just last year. No nexus is a horrible thing for us. Yes, Kathy, because then it means that there's a sales threshold. And as soon as you're successful in any way, then now you're suddenly required to do taxes everywhere. That's nuts. That's not fair. There should either be something where Amazon handles it on behalf of the platform handles it, or you just don't do it. So very, very problematic. So Tony says, I sell very low volume, high margin items despite being in the early review program and sending an email request. How can I get reviews? I'm still doing about 8 to 10 a month in .com sales. That's a huge problem, right? So for us, what we basically do is we tell the clients, here's what will get you in trouble. And then sometimes they find their own solution, such as if they have a friend of a friend who is willing to buy it and leave a review. I don't recommend doing this more than once or twice. That's really tricky and problematic. You need to have it be coming through ERP system, or you need to be having it come in organically. But to get even one review cuts your advertising costs in half. It's just insane how much one review helps. So basically that's what I tell clients, and then they go and find people to work with. We're really clear. Do not have anyone that is connected to you on Amazon. Of course, a lot of people don't think about how connected they are on Amazon. They think about, oh, I do this or I do that on Amazon, but they don't think about the fact that they're also a customer on Amazon. Someone could have used their computer. They could have shipped something to the same address. Family members often send gift certificates to the same grandparents or aunts and uncles. People just don't think about these things. And then Amazon comes back to them and says, no friends or family, you're warned. So, until Amazon makes Mind Voice available, and even then it'll be $1,000 and 30 giveaways, which may not still work for people with high volume items. That's the best advice I can give, because there's no approved way to do it. It's not fair, but it's the reality of it. The other thing that you can do is try to go through influencers and have them do it, but even that is not guaranteed, and it's kind of the same kind of good luck situation. Okay. If I am bundling a product and my competitor is not, should I be competing with his sell price, or can I justify increasing the list price since I'm offering more value? I personally would increase the list price because you are offering more value, but have something to where it's slightly less than buying each product individually would be. And then of course you need to make sure it's obvious in your title, right? If you haven't made it obvious in your title and your primary images, then, that's going to be really problematic for you because then it'll just look like you're more expensive. So just make sure that your value is obvious in multiple ways. And the value has to be obvious in the primary image and the title because they need to be able to tell the value from the search results, not when they get on the page. If your value is only showing when you get on the page, then you have a big problem because they're not going to go on the page if it's more expensive, right? How do I compete with Amazon Basics? They're my main competitor. I was told Amazon's listings suck, so I just need to have a better offer and I'll do fine. Is that true? Mostly yes, which is kind of a funny concept. But yes, Amazon's listings are the typical retail listings, which mean they actually just list out their features and benefits and call it good. They aren't looking at optimizing for keywords. They aren't looking at how customers experience the product. They're not even at all. The marketing part, there's one site merchandiser and he's got so much to do. He just lists products and moves on, no joke. And they spend most of their time for site merch actually working on deals, not on detail page content. For some reason, it's just not a priority. So yeah, that's a big part of it. They're competing on price, they're competing on value, they're not competing on any sort of other platform. So we actually knocked off a couple Amazon Basics products with a client that we're working with directly from the factory and actually totally kicked butt, sold out of the container in about 6 weeks, a whole 40-foot container. Because of just completely knocking off what Amazon Basics was doing, borrowing all their keywords, advertising right next to them, advertising in the product ads. Yeah, it was great. So you can definitely compete with Amazon Basics, and we were $5 more for the product. So not too shabby, and you can definitely compete. A lot of people come to me and they're like, Amazon Basics is going to take over everything. And there's definitely a problem there. But if Amazon Basics is beating you, then you're doing something wrong because they're just not very good at this, right? Amazon's good at big data analytics. They're not good at one-on-one marketing. That's the advantage that small companies have over Amazon is every single product is your baby. That's not the way it is on Amazon. They're constantly going numbers based, next. And they're not thinking about making that product super successful. They're just is it selling on its own? Great, moving on. So your ability to compete with them is directly related to your ability to market the heck out of the product as though it's your little baby. Amazon can't do that. So I absolutely believe you can compete with Amazon Basics. We have competed with Amazon Basics successfully. Now we're not making more than Amazon Basics, but the client is very happy. So I am a big fan of looking where Amazon Basics went and then kind of being great, cleaning up the scraps here. Because of course, Amazon Basics only goes into markets where they think they can make up to $1 million a year. So there's a huge opportunity in those spaces, absolutely worth going into. Okay. All right, those are all the questions that I have for this morning. If you have any other questions, please pop those into the Facebook group as usual. Just because of how crazy busy it's been with Prosper last week, that was super fun. I have been into the group only once in the past week, but please feel free to send out questions. Oh, I missed a question from Mike. Are we all at risk for state audit for sales tax from states such as California or Texas? Yes, we are. That is why I'm ticked. Everyone is. And to me, that means there's a big failure on Amazon's part. They should be doing this for us. They already are for 5 different states. They should be doing it for the rest, especially if someone sues. It's not okay. We have multiple clients who are really nervous now because they don't have any nexus in California. And if the mail was classified as not having nexus, so should FBA, because you get the same amount of control over your product and where it goes in FBA as you get with the mail or UPS. Amazon moves it wherever they want to. You have no control. You can't designate where you want it to go, unlike a regular 3PL. A regular 3PL, you could tell them, don't send it here. Amazon's like, what are you talking about? So the idea of having control is laughable. You don't. So the whole concept of Nexus in the first place, a lot of people felt very comfortable with not paying sales tax in certain areas because that wasn't a requirement then. Now, with the changes, California is going after, a lot of sellers saying, hey, pay up. So make sure that you have a good tax lawyer. make sure that you go to Online Merchants Guild and talk to Paul if you have questions. But he is definitely the leading expert in this. He's been working hard on advocating for online merchants because this is a huge problem for all of us. And then with the letter that went to the California governor about how this was a complete mess, a bunch of people from the legislature and other parts of the government wrote that was going around on the internet as well. There's a lot of people who are advocating for us. That's what I want to say here. But in the meantime, just know that there is this risk and inform yourself as much as possible. Paul is a great resource. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. Sorry for the weird light. It's with daylight savings. Sun is right here. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. And again, send any questions in through the Facebook group. And I hope to see you all in the Storefront Challenge next week. All right. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.